Hi, welcome to Teacher Inspiration Station. So in today's video, I just wanted to share with you the routines I have in place for daily procedures. If it is your first time here, welcome. I'd really love it if you considered subscribing to my channel. I do teaching videos and some lifestyle videos as well. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you. I was watching this video by a teacher YouTuber called The Simply Organized Teacher, and in it she was mentioning the fact that we need to have expectations in place for a lot of our procedures. And I mentioned that in my new teachers video, but when I heard her say that, I just thought, oh, that's a good idea for a video. So I'll link her channel down below. It's a really good channel and she's really organized. But yeah, so I was thinking, okay, so I laid out my day and I thought about what are the little details in our day and what is it that I want the students to do during that time. Because I've run into problems in the past where I didn't really know what I wanted the kids to do, or I didn't really know what expectation I really wanted from them because I didn't really think of it. Things that were big and broad I did really well with, like reader's workshop, writer's workshop. I had a good routine going, but those little things I didn't think about, like how many children do I want to share a book? Like how many, I don't know, or how many kids do you want in bin toys, or you know what I mean? Like there's just those little details in the day that we need to think about. So you need to teach and model and practice everything and just don't assume that the students know. So I wrote it down, or I typed it up. I put it in this folder. This is called Classroom Procedures and Routines. And like I said, I just went through a typical day in our classroom and I just typed it up and I wanted to share it with you. So hopefully this video is useful, just to give you some insight into what are some things you should be thinking about. You may not do exactly what I have here, but what are your procedures if kids break a pencil? Are they allowed to use a sharpener? What are procedures while kids are working? Are they allowed to get up and ask you a question? Are they supposed to raise their hand? And things like that. So yeah, let's dive in and get started. Classroom procedures and routines. So here are my class rules. I have listening ears, quiet mouths, walking feet, helping hands, eyes on the speaker, and respect ourselves, others, and property. So these are the rules I've been doing every year basically, and it works for me. Next, I have how I want the kids to enter the school. And there's a line outside and they need to be standing on the line facing forward. And I want the kids to all show me that they are ready before they enter the school. So you show me you're ready when you're not talking and when you're facing forward. Classroom entry. So what I want the kids to do is outside at the classroom, I have cubbies and they're going to hang up their belongings on it. And the only thing that they bring, and their hooks are personalized, the only thing they bring into the classroom is their communication bags, which I have here. And basically with the communication bag, and I'll link it down below, a video that I made about them, but basically all communication goes in there. So notes, forms, books that they borrow at school, their homework, anything that needs to go to school goes in there, and anything that needs to go home gets put in there. So that's the only thing kids are bringing into school. It helps because I don't have kids just randomly giving me forms and notes and homework. It just all goes in their bag. So they come in and they put their communication bag in the bin. That's the only thing they bring into the classroom with them. Then I want them to, there's something called book shopping that I do, and that's when I start reader's workshop. One group is going to have a sign that says book shopping. So that is the group that's going to be book shopping that day. So they basically go and they change their Just Right books from their book bag. Sharing books. So at the beginning of the year, the routine is the kids come in, they put the communication bag away, and then they get a book. I've had issues in the past with this, where I didn't know how many kids I wanted to have to a book. I didn't think of it. So what ended up happening is there'd be one book and there'd be like 4 kids surrounded around one book. And sometimes it'd be fine, like they'd be engaged and it would be fine. But then I ran into problems of it getting really loud, or kids were just fighting over things and I can't see, and pure nonsense. So I don't do that anymore. 2 kids, 1 book. If you just want to read on your own, that's fine. But if you want to share with someone, 2 kids, 1 book. And I also teach students that if someone is reading a book and you would like the book, ask them, can I have the book when you're done? Or you can ask them, can I read the book with you? If they do not want you to read the book with them, that's fine. I don't force kids to do that because sometimes people just want to be by themselves and read, and that's fine. So I just teach them that you can have the book when you're done. So as soon as you're done with the book, give it to the person who's asking for it. Okay, National Anthem. So this is where you can run into problems of kids leaning on their desk or chit-chatting or having things in their hand. Whenever they say, please stand for the playing of our national anthem, put your books down. Your hands are at your side or your front. And there was a teacher actually, oh my goodness, her classroom ran like clockwork. I went and I visited her and I observed her classroom. And as soon as it was time for O Canada, there was one student who went up to the front and they grabbed the Canadian flag and they gently waved the flag at the front of the room. No one was saying, is it my turn to wave the flag? No, the kid knew who it was. Everyone knew who the student was. They gently waved it, and it was very clear that this teacher showed the student how to wave the flag. And they rolled it up, put it away at the end of O Canada, and that was it. So I was just amazed, and I like doing that because, oh, I know it's patriotic and all of that, but I just thought it was a great routine that she had put in place. So I'd like to do that again this year. And then during the morning announcements, no talking. I know sometimes you might say, oh, you can quiet whisper, but once you open that what do you say? You give them an inch, they take a mile. Once you open that and you allow them to quietly talk, eventually they're going to start being loud and no one's going to hear the announcements. So the announcements are there for information. A lot of times it really is important information that I need to know, I need to hear, and they need to hear it as well. So during the morning announcements, you're not talking, you're just sitting and you're listening. Have that established, all of this really, have it established like from the very first day of school to make your life easier. So when I put their books away, there's a song that I play every morning called It's a Beautiful Day. As soon as they hear that song, that is their signal to close their books and put their books away where they found it. And by the time the song is over, all kids need to be sitting on the carpet. There is a special way that I want the kids to put their books away, all facing forward. All the books are facing forward. And I show them what that looks like. So the books are nice and neat. No books are upside down or backwards. And that's one of those things that you might assume that they know. But no, you just have to show them how you want the books to be put away. Then they sit on the carpet in their spots. I give them carpet spots. I have them sit in a 5-point check. The 5 points are legs crossed, arms in their lap, eyes on the speaker, mouths closed, and listening ears. Generally speaking, when I say 5-point check, that's how I would like them to sit. Seating. Again, there's assigned seating on the carpet and desks. And students are in groups of 4 to 6 with a total of 5 groups. So I have the mammal group, birds, reptiles, insects, and fish. Music and movement. So I like to do a lot of movement breaks in my classroom. So when they're on the carpet and I need them on the carpet a little longer, I have them stand up and we do a movement break. Or sometimes we do mindfulness as well. So I want all kids to participate in that. I at least have them stand up. So I can't necessarily physically make them do something, but they can at least all stand up. I don't want some kids sitting down and then what ends up happening. It's a kind of a domino effect where some kids are just like, I don't want to do it, I don't want any of that. So just everyone stand up, and again, establish this from the very beginning. Now this is what I usually have a real issue with, and that is washrooms or bathrooms, restrooms, whatever you call it. So my issue with this is I don't want to deny someone the right to go use the bathroom, right? If you gotta go, you gotta go. But I do not want them using the washroom when we're on the carpet during a lesson. So I always start off in the beginning of the year with that expectation, like nobody leaves the carpet during a lesson. We're all present during this time. But there's always that time where a student really has to go. So I say to them, can you wait until we're done? And then they say yes. So we stop. But then they raise their hand again a couple minutes later, and I can tell that they really gotta go. But what I say to the students is, okay, I'll let you go. Nobody else is going. Do not ask me. And they just go to the washroom. But I just find that sometimes over time, they kind of just start asking more and more on the carpet. And I want to be really firm with that. Like there are designated times that you go to the washroom. But I've seen it where teachers do not let the kids use the washroom and then they end up wetting themselves, or like, I don't want that. And then one thing that I really got to work on this year is having the kids go during their breaks, so during recess. Because one thing I hate is when kids ask me right after recess, can I go to the washroom? Can I go to, like, that drives me bonkers. I don't want any of that nonsense this year. Go during recess, and I really have to make sure I instill it in them so that they don't waste time after recess going to the washrooms. The washroom procedures is 2 kids go to the washroom. They cannot go by themselves. And I do have a sign out system where kids turn off their cards from out in to out. Students take 5-second drinks if they need a drink. They just take a 5-second drink. And no more than 2 students out of the class at a time. So I don't want a group of like 5 kids going to the washroom. None of that nonsense. Okay. Leaving the classroom as a class. So when students are called, it could be by row, it could be by group name, etc. I change it up how I call them to line up. I want them to line up in the classroom by the door first. Now, I'm going to do this. I didn't do that in the past, but I'm going to do that this year and see if it makes a difference with how efficient they are in getting ready to go outside, because they get ready outside in the hall. So I want them to line up in the classroom first, and then when they're all settled in the classroom, I'm going to bring them in the hall to get their stuff and line back in the hall. So I'm going to give that a try this year, and I'm hoping that it will work out for me. When you're walking in the hall, there's no talking, and they walk on the silver line to their destination. Simple, simple. I think when you open it up to, okay, you can be quiet whisper, that's when you run into issues, right? Okay, snack. So our school provides snack for the students. Like, what do you guys do for snack? Because sometimes I have a hard time with it. I do like the idea of all kids in the classroom having snack, but then there's some kids who don't want snack, and then what do you do with those kids who don't want snack? Do they just get a book to read, or do they just sit there? Or anyway, so what I'm doing this year is I'm gonna have the kids have snack outside. So I'm gonna bring them outside, they're gonna line up, I'm gonna give them their snack, and they have to eat it first before they go out and play. So they just sit or stand or whatever and have their snack outside, and then when they're done, they can go out. Our snacks are not big. It's just something nutritional that they can just have in their system to kind of tie them over until lunchtime. It's just a simple snack, basically. All right, so that's that. And then work that's finished goes into the finished work bin, with the exception of writing from their writing workshops, word work, which goes in their groups bin. So here's the reader's workshop lesson and the writer's workshop lesson. Purposes of this video, I don't think I'm gonna go over it, but you can take a look at it here and pause the video, and you can see exactly what I do for readers and writers workshop. I find the way I do it, this system, to work really well, but again, it is something that you do have to practice and practice and practice, and then soon enough, it just goes, it's like clockwork. The kids know exactly what to do. All right, so when kids are done their work, here are their fast finisher activities. Now I have to say, when kids are done kids are not allowed to say I'm finished during writer's workshop. Writer's workshop, they are writing the entire time. When you think you're done, you've only just begun. So they're writing the entire time. But during other activities, they can't say they're finished. If they're done their math, they're done their, not reading either, reading or reading the whole time. But there's some activities in the classroom where they're done. They're just done. So these are fast finishers, and I will introduce them gradually so you can catch up on unfinished work. You can read a book. Always, you can read a book. You can do steam bins. You can draw a picture and label it in your notebook, or they can do it. I'm just going to give them a notebook where they can basically do what they want in it. They can write a story. They can draw pictures, whatever, right? And write a story. I find, oh, and also I kind of want to do like activity sheets as well. Sometimes I find that kids who are done their work, like, they don't want to do more work, right? Like, that's your reward for, you know, finishing your work. So I kind of just give them an option of 6 activities that they can do when they're done. Unfinished work goes in the unfinished bin, and during activity time, I'd like them to finish their work before they go to an activity. Signals for attention, we all know the clapping. That's always like the pattern everyone knows. There's chimes, they ring the chimes, they put their hands on their head, or when I say hands on top, they say that means stop. Or I can say 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, and they say 1, 2, eyes on you. So there's so many different signals. I like to change it up throughout the year. Like I start off with maybe 3 basic ones that I start off with. And then as they get bored of it, or it becomes, I find over time it becomes less effective, I just change it up. Activity time. When students are finished an activity, they must clean up before going to another activity. Bin toys, 2 students at bin toys. Table activities, 4 students. Now, bin toys, sometimes I used to allow more than 2 students, maybe 3, but then they get fight over the materials. There's just not enough materials for them all to, like, it's just 2 kids at bin toys. And then those tabletop activities, I have 4 students. Done. Okay, clean up. When students are finished activity, they have to clean up before they can choose another. I'm gonna give them a 5-minute warning before it is time to clean up. And that helps me not run into problems of kids going, oh, ready, because sometimes, because think about it, like when you're really engaged in something and you're like really into it, and then it's like, okay, you gotta stop now. Like, I don't know, when I have to stop something abruptly that I'm really into, it can be upsetting. So I like to warn them, like, 5 more minutes and then we gotta time to clean up, so that they're aware that about what's about to happen. And that's also really good for classroom management as well, giving them that little bit of a warning. When students have tidied up song, they immediately tidy up and sit at their desks, and they must be finished tidying up by the time the song is done. And the song is long enough for them to be able to do that. Now, the song that I use is a song, it's a counting by 5 song, and it's so good because the kids, I find counting by 5 to be really difficult for a lot of kids. And I'm telling you, my students learn how to count by 5 so quickly just by me playing that song daily. On Sharpen Pencils. Okay. If the students are working and their pencil breaks, they're not allowed to touch my sharpener. These kids are not allowed to touch my sharpener. In the past, I've let students use my sharpener, but a lot of times they end up breaking it, the electric ones. And most kids are fine, but then you have those kids who want to experiment and they put other things inside the sharpener that does not belong in the sharpener, or they'll stick a pencil this short into the sharpener. Like, so they don't touch it, and they know that they're not supposed to touch it. I will touch it at the end of the day and sharpen pencils at the end of the day. Now, if a student runs into the issue of having an unsharpened pencil, there are so many pencils in my classroom. Like, each group has a bin of pencils and erasers. So let's just say there's 4 kids in a group. I give them like 8 pencils or 9 pencils in that basket, so that if one breaks, they can easily just change it within their group. They don't have to get up. It's all in their group. So that has worked for me. I know some people have a bin that says sharpened and unsharpened. I don't do that. Every group just has a bunch of pencils, traded in for another pencil. And then at the end of the day, I will sharpen pencils. Classroom jobs. So these are jobs I'm going to have for now. So line leader, attendance monitor, snack monitors, table captains, and library monitors. Now, as the year goes on, I may add to it if I'm noticing an issue. Or I used to have ones called door holders, but for me, in my experience, that ended up being a bit more trouble for me personally. And like sometimes there's situations, because I usually pick 2 door holders, and then there's certain situations where we have to walk through 3 doors. And then like I just got too many kids saying I'm not the door holder. Like they were just so fixated on like that job, like that's not my job, that it's so much easier for me to just not give that job to someone. So when you open the doors, I just ask the child that's behind the line leader, can you open the door please? Can you hold the door? Can you hold the door? And I just find that to be a lot less trouble. And they're not trying to be rude, but they're just saying that's not their job. Like we pick kids to do that job. They're supposed to do that job. So yeah, easier for me to do that. But anyways, these are the jobs I have. Lunch, I'm not going to go over the lunch routines because it's very specific to our school, but I will give you guys this tip. A lot of times I see teachers, like when kids come in, they take their lunch bag and they put it in a lunch bin, and then that lunch bin, that big heavy lunch bin, is being lugged to the lunchroom. Just have all your kids just bring their own individual lunches downstairs. So don't give them the job of like that step of taking out their lunch bag and putting it in a lunch bin. Just when it's time for lunch, everyone just grabs their lunch and everyone carries their own lunch. So that's what I have my kids do. We go downstairs, and when like when they have to go out and play, like yes, they do put their lunch bags in that bin, but at the end when I have to pick them up, they all just grab their lunch. And again, you have to show them how to do it because you don't want them pushing and shoving. It's so much easier, and then you just bring up the empty bin and they each hold their own lunches. So no more lugging around heavy lunch bins, which I've done in the past. Not doing that anymore. All right. And then after lunch, what I like to do is something called bell work. And what I do is I have a math sheet on their desks. I have them, like I have their math folders with a math sheet. And it's basically things that we've already worked on in class, reinforcing concepts we've already been taught in class. And it's something that I feel like they can do independently. And it's not something that's going to take them a long time to do. So it can just be one question or two questions where they answer it and then they put it in their math folders, and they put their math folders in their bins and they go on the carpet with a book. But I feel like that time after lunch, they need like some time to just kind of calm down. And I also feel like kids get ready at different times. Like, so it's just something direct that they can just do quickly before the afternoon gets started. It is a lot of work though, because you do have extra stuff to mark, but I find it beneficial. Okay, so getting materials. How do I want kids to get materials in class? I will either, depending on what the materials are in the day, table captains get some materials needed, so I can have the kids go sit at their desk, and table captains, you go grab the materials for your group. So you get 4 glue sticks and 4 pairs of scissors for your group. I could choose 2 students to hand out the materials. So one student hands out the glue sticks, one student hands out the scissors. Everyone else is just sitting at their desks waiting. Or I can just hand out the materials. So while the students are sitting at the desk. Now, I don't usually do that one, but it depends on what it is. Like sometimes I'd rather hand it out. So yeah, that's an option as well. And then handing out papers. So again, if I have papers that are at the carpet, I've explained what we're going to do, and I need to hand out papers. The kids can sit on the carpet, and I can hand them out by groups. So I say, okay, all the kids in row 1, come up, get your paper. All the kids in row 2, come up, get your paper. Or I can say, all kids in the mammal group, come get your papers. Things like that. I can just choose 2 students to hand out the papers. So have all the kids go sit at their desks, and I have 2 students go hand out the papers to everyone. And I can just do it myself. Borrow book and homework. So every day during activity time, students are called by one to change their borrowed books and put it in their communication bags, and then they put it in their backpacks. So that's just something we kind of do at the end of the day during activity time. Homework is an optional program that I have. So basically what their homework is them reading a book and writing about it. And I have a whole list of writing prompts, like I like the story because, or something that surprised me was, or whatever. So you write a sentence or 2 about it. And then once a week on Wednesdays, I'll send home a math worksheet of what we've been doing in class, and students hand that back whenever. When it comes to homework, I'm not strict with it. You get it done, great. If you don't, that's fine. It's completely optional. But again, it goes in their communication bags. I check their homework every day, so it can either be during lunchtime, it might be during a prep, it might be during recess, but I take 10 minutes out of the day to check their homework. So notes and forms, again, notes and forms go in the communication bag, simple. Help with work. Now, this is big because when we're doing work in class and a student needs help, I don't want anyone coming up to me. Like, I don't want kids leaving their desk to come up to me, because then you have a trail of like 10 kids who need help. Don't come up to me. So, which kind of sounds harsh, but it's not really. So what I need them to do, if they need help, they can ask kids at their group, sure, but raise their hand if you need me. I will look around, I'll acknowledge that they see their hand, like, Susie, I see your hand. Give me a minute, I'm working with so-and-so, or whatever, right? But I really want my kids to be independent workers. So in the very beginning of the year, especially with writing, I don't nitpick. I just want them to be independent. They're in grade 1, I just want them to put their thoughts down, put it down. Because sometimes kids worry about spelling. Like, spelling is a really big one that kids worry about, and if they don't know how to spell a word, they're just stuck. So I just really want to encourage them to just try your best. That's all I care about, is if you're trying your best. I just want them to be independent so that they're not just sitting frozen waiting for me to help them. Also, one thing I don't do is I don't tell them how to spell words. I will give them strategies on how to try and figure out how to spell words, or using resources in the classroom to help them. If you help them with spelling, like how do you spell duck? And you give them the spelling, like you're gonna be their human dictionary. They're just constantly gonna be asking you, how do you spell this, how do you spell that? So we don't want that. So there's that. And then oh yeah, so, and you can also use scaffolding and differentiation when necessary, just to help kids who have a really hard time working independently. Especially like doing writer's workshop when I'm conferring with students. I'll get to them eventually, but if I have to keep stopping my lesson, my conferring, I'm never gonna get that student done. So I just let kids know that, and they usually understand. Fire drill and lockdown procedures, I didn't put it here, but we have a separate binder with all that information in it, so I need to refer to that. So ending of the day. So once they have tidied up the classroom and sit at their desks, I'm gonna have them line up in the classroom, then we're gonna go out in the halls of class, and they're gonna get their belongings, and we're gonna walk down to where I dismiss them. Now I do have kids who go to daycare. In the beginning of the year, I like to take them down, or sometimes there are teachers who offer, or sometimes there's like the daycare teacher who may grab the kids, but eventually they do just go on their own. So like I might have 5 kids in daycare and they just go as a group down to daycare, and yeah, they're fine, they can manage that. And then I dismiss the kids. Now I've seen some schools where kids just go. Like I know my nephew's old school was like that, like they opened the doors and kids just left. And I don't like that because I don't know who went home with who. What I teach the kids to do is I say, you need to tell me who's here for you before you leave. So you can't just leave. You have to say, bye, my mom's here, or bye, my babysitter's here, or whoever, before I let you go. One thing that is like the worst thing ever is a parent saying, oh, hi, I'm here to pick up Susie. And you look around just like, where is Susie? Like, where did Susie go? Who did Susie go home with? That is the worst. You don't want to go through that. So I teach kids from the very first day of school, you need to say bye to me before you leave. That is basically the routines that I have in place. And again, I'm just going to put this in a binder so that I have it, or maybe I'll just put it in my teacher binder. I'm sure as time passes, there's going to be a procedure that I didn't think about, like, oh, what I want the kids to do. But at least I have a good start, and at least it helps my mind realize or think about the fact that I need to make sure that there's an expectation in there, and that the kids know what it is, and that I don't take anything for granted. Even the smallest thing, the smallest detail that you think, oh, they know, they don't know, right? So you need to teach them. Students do not follow these expectations. I do let them practice during their own time. Now, some people are against this, against kids practicing during recess, but to me, I feel like if you wasted my time, you owe me the time. Like, I feel like sometimes I don't let them miss the entire recess, but I do let them miss part of it. So I have this procedure where when I play a song, the good morning song, that means that they need to put their books away and come sit on the carpet. And that song is long enough for them to be able to do that. But there are some kids who are just kind of sitting around, and I mean, there needs to be some sort of a consequence in place when they do that. So it's like, okay, you do not know what to do? Okay, you're gonna practice it during recess time, and we're gonna do it until you figure out how to do it. Because I feel like when they hear you talk, it doesn't mean anything to a lot of kids. Like, yeah. But when I actually put something in place, like this is what's gonna happen if you don't do it, then they do it. If you want to talk to parents, a note home that so-and-so is having a really hard time following this procedure. Can you please go over it at home? Whatever you want to do. I'm just telling you what works for me. That's it. That is my video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please do not forget to subscribe. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.